I think Trump is scared of China. I must say I'm very pleased to see the strength of will of Mr. Modi and the Indian government so far in resisting what is a very difficult pressure from the US.
Sir, the European Union has outrightly rejected US President's suggestion that they impose tariffs on India and China for the purchase of Russian oil. Could you explain why this decision was made, particularly when it comes to the relationship that the EU shares with America, India, and China?
I think there are two reasons for the EU's decision to reject Trump's pressure to put slap high tariffs on India. First of all, as you know, the EU and India are in the final lap of concluding a free trade agreement and an investment agreement. Once concluded, that will be the biggest economically significant agreement in the world. And so it would be completely counterintuitive at this point in time when the two sides are on the cusp of a groundbreaking trade agreement, which will really bring the economies together. It would be totally counterintuitive to slap a 50% or 100% tariff on India for the fact that it continues to buy some Russian crude oil and refines it and sends it to other countries. So that's the first reason. Secondly, I think the European Union is not comfortable with the extent to which trade is being weaponized for political purposes.
Okay.
We've seen increasingly the Trump administration using tariffs, using trade sanctions to achieve completely unrelated political objectives. Yeah, and that's a very, very dangerous road to go down. It's unavoidable in part, but it's a very, very dangerous precedent. And I think the EU shies away from that as a matter of principle.
Absolutely. Out of curiosity, what's your take on why the United States is imposing direct tariffs on only India and not China in this regard?
I think Trump is scared of China. And we saw when he introduced his Liberation Day tariffs, China imposing on China 100% tariff, or maybe more, I've forgotten now. China retaliated immediately, and Trump backed down. So I think the only language that the U.S. administration understands is power, and for that reason, China retaliating, that would hurt the USA. China has a very, very high pain threshold; they can suffer that. So he backed down, and that's why he's not pushing China in this area, even though China imports more oil from Russia than India does. I must say I'm very pleased to see the strength of will of Mr. Modi and the Indian government so far in resisting what is a very difficult pressure from the US.
All right. Now, another statement that Ms. von der Leyen also made was, and this is another quote, closer cooperation between the EU and India is more essential than ever. How evolved or dependent is trade between Europe and India at this point? Is it possible that we could see tariffs being imposed in the future?
No, as I said, we are about to conclude a free trade agreement which will liberalize almost all trade and will also free up investment in both directions. So we're not going to see a raising of the barriers. We're going to see a lowering of the barriers. Now, up to now, EU-India trade has been suboptimal. The Indian market is fairly heavily protected. It has, however, doubled in the last 10 years because India's its economy has prospered greatly in the last decade with 7%, 8% growth every year. And so, but there's a lot more that can be done. So I'm quite confident that we're going to see around the end of this year a fairly comprehensive free trade agreement between Europe and India, which will strengthen the trade relationship even further and allow both of us to avoid excessive dependency on the USA or China. We have to diversify. We have to spread the risk, and we are
Absolutely.
fairly like-minded regions with a lot of common interests and values. And I think this is a fantastic opportunity, frankly.
Would you agree with the statement that Trump seems to be trying to withdraw from what's going on because he's putting more pressure on NATO to shoulder costs when it comes to financial aid to Ukraine during the war, and he's also putting pressure on the EU when it comes to sanctions, as we're also seeing?
Yes, I think so. I think one, Trump has a very, very short attention span, and all he really cares about is the tweets or the headlines of the morning, and then he moves on to something else in the afternoon and the next day, and that really drives a lot of his erratic decision making. And secondly, he has understood that contrary to what he promised when he was elected, he would not stop the Russian invasion of Ukraine in 24 hours. The world is far more complicated than that. And so he's basically, I think, not given up, but he is withdrawing some of his commitment and leadership faced with that reality.
All right. Mr. Clarke, thank you so much for joining us and providing us with all of that crucial insight.
My pleasure. It was a pleasure to join you. Thanks to you.
$25 करोड़ गरीब गरीबी को परास्त करके बाहर निकले।
For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
The fastest news breaks.
Requested PM saying that we will have to speak to Putin and to Zelensky.
The biggest newsmakers.
The relationship with India is probably the most important bilateral relationship the U.S. will have for the rest of this century.
The capital delivered quite an election result today.
Expert analysis.
The million-dollar question today is how to stop this dance of death.
Ground reports.
I'm standing at the crossroad of the Kumbh Mela. Behind me are more than 100 entry ghats.
Long-form interviews.
Exclusionary politics is reflected in Manipur case as well. You don't bother because this is a small state.
Deep dive into burning issues.
It's often said DRC could be the richest country in the whole world. It's because of what sits underneath.
Why exactly did the US topple the Sheikh Hasina government?
HD videos. We don't just break news, we break it down.